And I'm joined by not just two of the Merry Murderesses, who we're going to chat to in a moment, but also Jude Fullerton, who does pretty much everything else. Jude, it's lovely to have you back in the studio, representing Douglas Choral Union. I mean, you have many hats when you do these productions. But one of the things we were talking about in the background before you came on, Chicago, a lot of people know it for the dancing, for the music, for Bob Fosse. I hadn't realised until you told me a lot of this is based on real life stories, and considering it's about murderous women, I mean that's something, that is, isn't it? Tell us a bit of the background.
Yeah, it's really a lot of people don't know or realize that in Chicago in the 1920s everything was a bit of a mess. There was no law, there was prohibition, and during that time also women weren't in the jury. So there was around 102 women that were accused of killing their husbands, and of the 102, only about 12 got convicted, and mainly because they presented themselves quite attractively in the court, and the jury just couldn't believe that women would actually kill their husbands or lovers, or they were capable of doing it, especially if the women were attractive. So the story of Roxy and Velma is actually, a true life story. It's not totally right, but in lots of respects, with Roxy, for example, her defense was they both reached for the gun, so the song Reach for the Gun was based on that, and also sort of like her fake pregnancy. Those were all real things that actually happened, and they got away with it.
And one of the reasons we know this is because actually Chicago itself was written by one of the reporters that reported on those crimes at the time.
Yes, she was actually really disgusted with the fact that these women could get away with it. And so she wrote the play to sort of like highlight to everybody the injustice of the system and the fact that like all of a sudden people were being celebrities for no reason. So if you think about it, it's a really like Big Brother started anew, because these people were famous for killing people, they're nothing to do with that. And she wanted to bring that injustice to light. And she had the play. And actually Bob Fosse went to watch the play with his wife. And they tried to get the rights to make it into a musical, but she refused because she didn't want them to benefit from it. It was only when she died that her family released the rights to Bob Fosse, and he made it into a musical.
And we think actually she probably would have been quite happy with the way he did it, because, I mean, he pulls no punches with it, does he?
Yeah, he was quite real to it. And because I think they tried to do it in Hollywood and they made a film, but they had to knock all the things out because it's quite a lot of murder, crime, and plus it's quite a sexy show. So, they couldn't sort of like, in the 50s, they couldn't sort of like put all that in film. So, it was kind of like sanitized a little bit.
Well, see, now, if you're going to go, which I hope you all are, you know a bit of the backstory to it. And we've been talking about these Merry Murderesses, talking about Velma and Roxy. We've actually got our own Velma and Roxy in the studio with us, because Jordan and Evie are here. Jordan, you are playing Velma. Did you know all about this background before you took this role on?
Actually, I didn't. I didn't know the scope of it. I knew it was based on a play that was then turned into a musical, but I didn't know it was actually based on real people until Jude filled me in on a lot of the background, actually. Yeah, it's really interesting.
So does it kind of add something to when you're performing, because you think, actually, I'm kind of representing someone here, or certainly an era?
Yeah, a little bit. Obviously, it's not the exact story, so it's like more dramatic than it usually is, but yeah, it's good to keep in mind, when you're playing the scenes, and because they are real people, you drive real emotion into different areas of the story.
And I think the last time I saw you on the stage was when you were playing Kaniki. Not Kaniki. Oh, I always do that. Rizzo and Kaniki.
Yeah.
Rizzo and Kaniki have got those sort of names, haven't they? Sound like nicknames. Yeah. Rizzo, obviously, in Greece, which was an amazing thing. But when did you first sort of come into theatre on the Isle of Man?
I think I was about 10 or 11 when we did Bugsy Malone. About 2011. Yeah, so I was kind of fresh-faced and never stepped foot on stage in my life. So, yeah, it's very interesting when you go on the stage for the first time, because it looks one way when you're looking at the stage, but it's completely different when all the lights and everything are on you. So for an 11-year-old, it was a bit of a big shock.
And to think now you're playing one of the lead roles in what is one of the favourite musicals of all time. Yeah. I mean, that must feel amazing.
Oh, yeah. Chicago's been one of my dream shows anyway. Like, whoever's spoken to me about my dream shows the last few years, I've always said Chicago. So, yeah. It's dream come true.
I bet it is. And we've got Evie with us as well, who is playing, Roxy is just one of those parts, Evie, isn't it?
Oh, she is. She has been my dream role forever, honestly. So it's such a dream come true to be able to, bring her to life.
And how have you very much made her your own, or have you been quite kind of strict to actually playing her the way that she's written?
I feel like I've tried different methods. I've watched different videos of the way that she's been portrayed on Broadway, or different people have kind of brought a different feel to her. But I think I've very much tried to make her my own and bring aspects of myself to her, which sounds weird when I'm talking about
Don't worry,
being a
you've not
murderer.
killed anyone,
But-
have you? No, I don't think so.
No, I think I've very much tried to make bits of my own humour into the lines and infiltrate myself into her a little bit.
She's been played by so many iconic people as well, hasn't she?
Definitely, yeah. And there's obviously been a very different age range in every person that's played her as well. I've seen people all the way up until like their 50s or 60s playing Roxy and Velma. And then, I mean, I'm 19, but there's been a very different gap of age range. But I think that's great.